Welcome everyone, my name is Kevin. Today I'll be bringing you the review of a brand new affordable budget smartphone from Samsung. This is the Galaxy A12 and it's got a quad camera setup on the back with a 48 megapixel main lens, up to 6 gigabytes of RAM and a 5000 milliamp hour battery, not to mention an octa-core processor, all of this in a new design. We have a side-mounted fingerprint scanner this time, there's a headphone jack, a micro SD card slot for storage expansion, and the back is still plastic, but with a new grippy, fingerprint-resistant finish. Samsung has prioritized that camera and the battery life of the A12 heavily, or so it appears on the spec sheet of the phone. So we'll talk about these things at length, and also get to everything else you want to know about the phone, the pros and the cons. To start, the display is Samsung's TFT panel in the Infinity V cut. The bezels are nothing special, though the aspect ratio and color saturation of the panel are what I like here. The sharpness is good enough to keep me from complaining. I know this panel at 264 pixels per inch will not fully satisfy the tech enthusiasts who can afford expensive flagships, but even I can appreciate the movie viewing experience on the A12. It is a big and bright 6.5-inch display, which is definitely a win in my book considering the price range. The phone can be unlocked with the face-registered biometric, and you have the option to use the fingerprint scanner, but neither are mandatory. Now, registering the same finger a few times over will actually further improve accuracy, and when the finger is placed correctly, for me it'll work 10 times out of 10. Let's cover the package contents. With the new Samsung Galaxy A12, I got the USB-C to standard A cable, the 2-amp wall adapter, even the Samsung earbuds, and of course, the SIM tool. My first test was to completely drain the battery, make sure it's depleted, and see the charge up times from 0 to 100% fully back to charged. And this took just a tiny bit over 2 hours. Considering it's a 5000 milliamp hour battery, that is pretty fast. My battery life on the Galaxy A12 averaged out to 9 hours of screen on time. This was across 2 days, so it's safe to say if you're a light or moderate smartphone user, you will definitely have enough power on a single charge for 2 full days. My battery test, by the way, was conducted with Wi-Fi and data on, switching between dark mode and light mode, which I used mostly. If you are not gaming or doing any graphics-intensive tasks, you might even make it to the 3rd day mark consecutively, as you can see I did on my lower use days. Let's touch on build quality and the feel in the hand with the phone. Now, it's a new two-toned matted down plastic, and what this means is you're going to have an improved grip in the hand without having a case, and since it's not glossy plastic, it's not going to pick up micro scratches or fingerprints nearly as easily. To my surprise, there is a nice feeling of heft to this device. Even with a case on the phone, I was satisfied with the button tactility. Also, I should note that the cases, well, most of them are going to have a cutout on the power button, so you can still use that fingerprint side-mounted scanner. The name A12 would certainly lead you to believe that it's the successor or the replacement to the Galaxy A11, and I've had an adequate amount of time to test the phone before bringing you the review, and I can tell you for certain, this is no replacement. Keep in mind that the A11 has an Infinity O hole punch cutout display. It has an even higher tier pixel density than the A12. This is why my upcoming Galaxy A12 versus Galaxy A11 detailed comparison video is going to be interesting. You'll see the full breakdown of where the budgeting priorities for each phone went and how they perform compared against each other. Other comparisons for the Galaxy A12 versus other phones can be requested in the comments, but keep in mind, I'm never going to upload videos on a schedule or consistently. I'm only going to post when I feel like it and when there's something that's actually meaningful to contribute. So if you care about that type of thing and you don't want to miss the next videos, make sure you're subscribed with the notification bell turned on. When I pulled my A12 out of the box, I made some fast adjustments that are really going to make a difference in everyday use. First thing was going into the settings and enabling show battery percentage. The next setting is reduce animations. It can be searched, and what it does is scale down the motions when opening and closing apps. Essentially, enabling this will make the phone feel faster at no expense or detriment to user experience. Below this option are motions and gestures. You can turn on lift to wake, double tap to wake, and my favorite, finger sensor gestures. With this on, you can slide open and close the notification shade just by running your finger alongside the fingerprint scanner on the side. Samsung's One UI software does truly bring some useful additions to the phone, such as the face-registered unlock and the digital well-being. Now, the current software version on the A12 is One UI 2.5, and it's running Android 10. Not Android 11 yet, but I personally do expect to see Android 11. It's not confirmed by Samsung, but let's make it an expectation. Another positive note is that the phone is dual SIM. This means that the SIM tray has a total of 3 slots, and I appreciate this as a former frequent traveler. Hopefully I'll be using this feature again this year in 2021. As expected with a Galaxy A phone, the carrier compatibility with GSM networks is good. My call quality and my incoming and outgoing texts were just fine. I did notice one instance where the mobile data on the A12 was pulling slightly slower speeds than my Galaxy A51. Now, I'm not talking about like a major speed difference, so I'm willing to forgive this very minor shortcoming. There's a few key specifications that you're going to want to know here. The processor and memory speed are the same across all variants of the phone, but there is a 3, 4, and 6GB RAM model. I have the middle tier 4GB RAM variant, and if you ask me, opting for that 6GB RAM model doesn't compensate for the other bottlenecked hardware that is in a budget smartphone like this. Now, if you opt for the base 3GB RAM model, I think that one is going to experience some slow app load-up times. Slow enough that the difference between 3 and 4 will be significant, but even 3GB of RAM would be entirely sufficient if you don't mind waiting an extra split second for app reopening. My regular smartphone tasks were performed with adequate speed and responsiveness. The CPU power behind the octa-core chipset isn't technologically cutting edge, and it doesn't need to be when it's only pushing ordinary tasks to this many pixels. I will cut them some slack in the CPU department of a budget phone, but what's entirely unforgivable is using eMMC 5.1 speed internal storage. We've got 64GB of this internal storage and a built-in slot to expand that. Now, it's generous enough, but the speeds are just so far behind what you'd expect with a slightly higher tier Galaxy A phone or what you'd get with the average budget phone in 2021. This directly affects everyday tasks, and it's why the speed of opening apps is only adequate. The imbalanced hardware that I previously mentioned is further evident when doing an intensive task such as playing a 3D game. For instance, there's only one playable graphics setting available in the games that I like, such as Call of Duty Mobile. So not much to say there. The phone isn't going to overheat, and it's not going to perform terribly because it's been significantly bottlenecked for graphics. Call of Duty and other demanding games were just okay at the low graphics setting, enough for me to play competitively with not too much frustration. Now it's time to talk about the part of the phone that Samsung has put a bigger emphasis on. Let's talk about cameras. It has a 48 megapixel main camera that has a wide field of view by nature of its focal length. There is a dedicated ultra-wide camera, only at 5 megapixels, a macro lens, and a depth sensor. The primary camera's 48 megapixel images do have to be taken with a bit of care, so as not to shake the phone too much while capturing the picture. Still images do look good. I'm content with the photo quality in terms of sharpness, colors, and dynamic range. You can get away with using the A12 rear camera in low light scenarios and when it's a fast moving object in frame as well. While companies like Google and Apple have made 0 attempts at making a budget phone with multiple rear lenses, Samsung is doing it year after year. It feels like month after month because the A11 didn't even come out that long ago. But I feel like it's still worth commending because with this, we get diversity in mobile photography. You know I like using these ROX and A-gates for my photo tests on the regular camera, but with the macro lens, you can really see the fine details in the rock formation. I will talk about the A12 video capabilities extensively in my comparison videos coming soon. Now it does have the video capabilities that most of us would expect on a smartphone. It's not 4K, but it gets the job done. Selfies are taken at 8 megapixels at an f2.2 aperture, which means you won't have any problems getting a few people in frame and in focus. There's enough natural background blur with selfie photos that you don't have to use the option of live focus blur, but if you want it, it's there. And there's also a wider selfie mode if you're really trying to get a lot of people in frame. Like I told you earlier, I got my hands on the Galaxy A12 very early on, and I did this by paying a very large importing fee on top of international shipping and the whole book of tariffs, which I didn't even know existed. But I guess there's a budget for each of these phone videos. Even though they're budget phone videos, it's a decent budget, and the only thing I ask to keep the videos coming the way they are with no sponsors and self-funded is for you to just like the video, and if you really enjoyed it, drop me a comment. But basically, to recap the A12 review, Samsung has taken away from the display budget to bring excellence to other key aspects of the phone. The battery life being the main improvement here, and also a better grip in the hand. For next time, I think we should challenge Samsung to actually improve the loudspeakers, because they're still really bad. It makes melodious voices sound tinny, the richness of a song gets drowned out by this awful single driving speaker. Now, if you have a Galaxy A series phone, I want to hear your complaints about the speakers too, because there's no way it's just me. I'm sure you have suggestions for other phones you'd like to see me cover on my channel. Put those in the comments. But before we go ahead and call the Galaxy A12 a downgrade from the Galaxy A11, you're going to want to watch that full head-to-head comparison that I have coming to the channel. That's it. Thank you for watching this one. I will stay up to date with you in the comments. Until the next video. Bye for now.